Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Book for Lunch today. I'm going to get started because I know our poet and author has a lot to tell us. So, Dennis is here, Etzel Jr. Did I say that right? Yes. And he's going to speak on his book and tell us about poetry. And then, after this, we're going to have a poetry workshop. And we wanted to do that because some of our poetry workshop people, our group is dwindling. Some of them aren't able to do as much anymore. But I can tell you that we started in 2015. And because of that, we have just helped Rich Hawkins publish his book called On Sitting Bull Hill. And as soon as he gets here, when his wife's out of the hospital, we will have him speak and we'll have him read his poetry. But it came from the product of our poetry time. So some people come and just enjoy other people's poetry. Some of us write more profusely, like Rich. And I know one couple, the husband writes and the wife frames it and gives us the pictures. So there's all kinds of ways to do poetry. And so that's after this. I'm giving it to go. Huh? Don't know why. Don't know the back. They'll make it work. Okay. And then in November, we have Zach Diamanti coming and talking, and he's a veteran, and he's talking about healing and self-discovery, and he's written a children's book. And so he's coming on the 12th, the day after Veterans Day. So normally we have it the first Wednesday of the month in November, but because we have Kansas Library Association conference actually this year's in Manhattan, we won't be able to have Book for Lunch until the following week. So wanted to do that. And then in December, we have Jose Faust coming. He's a Kansas Humanities speaker. We don't usually get Kansas Humanities speakers one after another, but this is when they were available. And it's also a good time to travel because January, February, March gets a little bit dicey. So we'll be coming. They changed my name. And then we just want to remind you that if you want to hear our lovely Katie and Vi in our webcast telling about books and different genres, there'll be 5 now coming out on our website, and they're great fun talking about books that they like. I think they're doing Halloween this time, more scary stuff. Oh, fantasy and world building. Last month it was historical fiction, and they're just great. So we either use the meeting room or our hush offices. And so that's something that we've started. And then remember, we have our newsletter, and it talks about books. It talks about things about this, our staff, and we've put in some recipes and some craft things. There's all kinds of information. And it's in Spanish and English. We wrote it in easy English so that our Spanish or people that are learning English can read it. And then they can also have the Spanish, or people that want to learn, do it that way. So we're sharing in both languages. And then, of course, we have our children's programming. And Chelsea, if you don't know Chelsea, raise your hand, Chelsea. She is our new children's librarian. And she does our story time, our preschool and family night. And now Baby Lapse is called Baby and Me. And it's like every week with a story time. You don't have to sign up for it. And then we have toddlers. And then in October, we'll have Play with Purpose. And that is a sign up. So she has enough room to get everybody in. And then our Youth Activity Center is for 3rd grade through 8th grade down here, Monday through Friday. We have about 30 kids a day. So it gets very busy down here. We're really thrilled by that. I tell you, look, this afternoon, after we're done, we'll transform this area a place for children and youth. And then remember us to be online. on our catalog, our Facebook page, and catalog where you check out books, and then our Facebook page, and then our website. It'll all tell you if we're having a storm or something happening that will be closed. Which reminds me, next Friday is October 10th. The library will be closed October 10th because City of Colby is working on a big power transformer being changed out. And they said it might be 2 o'clock or it might be longer. So they told businesses don't plan on, don't bring your employees to work if you think they might not work because you'll be paying them to do nothing. So we're just going to close that day. Don't come on Friday the 10th. There's no school anyway, so find something else. If you're at home, plan the 10th to take a walk, to read outside, to go, I don't even know if you plan to go, eat out. I think downtown, down by, Dillon's and things, they'll probably be open. But I can't guarantee. So make sure you have your own food, your own water, something to read, take care of yourself on Friday. That is a community announcement. Okay. And then remember, if you're traveling or need something in one book and you don't have anything, you can always get a book on your phone. You can also do Sunflower E-Library on your phone. And if you need help with that, talk to Katie or Garrett or Ben or Vi or Chelsea. Don't talk to me. I can do it. They're better. And then if you know somebody who needs English classes, Vi does it every Thursday, and they don't have to necessarily be every day, every week. We have some that come in twice a month that she works with because of their work. And so we really try to work with that group, and they have workbooks and stuff like that. And there we are. So I'm going to now connect all of this and ask Dennis to start telling us about his poetry, his book, and whatever he wants to share.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Melanie. And I also want to thank Vi for reaching out to ask if I could come visit. And I just want to give everyone, let's give them a hand, right? All they put this together is just amazing. They don't have anything like this in Topeka going on. Although the library there is also vibrant, though. It's very vibrant. That's why I love seeing the schedule, just all of the different things going on, and just what I was chatting, that there's just things for everyone, and even, after school things. And, I know my son, so my spouse and my 5 sons are here. And my sons take part of those Topeka library after school things. I know that they really love it. So thanks for having me here. I'm from Topeka, Kansas, the capital city. I've lived there. I'm a 5th generation Topekan, so I never left. I did travel to go get MA and MFA at K-State. So I got the MA at K-State and then the MFA at KU. So when they play, my team wins. Yeah. I got my son covered. So if you're a KU or K-State fan, hey, I'm with you. All right. It's interesting. My start in poetry, I guess first the agenda I'll do today is first talk about some of my poems from my book, Fast Food Sonnets. It was a Kansas Notable Book Award in 2018. And it's interesting of how I'll talk about how that evolved. And then we're going to go into other Kansas poems from different poets across Kansas. So, and I couldn't even include all of them. That's what's nice is, even I've heard there are poets here getting published here in Colby, and that's what I love is hearing about even this great poetry group here at the library. What a great opportunity. I feel that we all need each other, right? Like writing can be kind of a solitary thing. And I've found that it's better when you're with people doing it. So, you can encourage each other, share each other's work. The one thing about poetry, okay, who here likes poetry? Anyone? Does anyone like poetry? Couple of hands. Okay. Well, hopefully, I'll change your mind with some of these poems afterwards. Not these, not mine, but maybe some of these will change your mind. No, I always say that, poets, we have to, You know, if you don't like this book, you can just use the cover as, you know, frame it. Piece of paper, you know, just. Yeah, okay. But, you know, I've led poetry workshops for about 20 years now. And I remember one of the first spaces I went to, it was called The Villages. It's a home for children who aren't safe to be at home. So they're in a safe environment. The people at Meningers had started it. So they have social workers, they have, you know, people there to work with the children. And I was doing a poetry workshop. And some of the kids had left the table, and so there was a 12-year-old boy. And I said, just, you know, I thought, well, that's like, why do you think people write poetry? And he said, you know, it's because they want to share the feelings they wouldn't normally share. And they do it in words they wouldn't normally use. And I thought, that's right. I've read all these 20 books of, you know, how to write poetry and all that, but he got it. He summed it up for me. I thought, all right. So I just love, you know, starting things with that way. And that's why some of the poetry we might have read before, you know, it gets a little intimidating, or we, you know, someone has to tell us like, oh, it means this or that. It's like, oh, you know, they're the words we want to use to express emotion. You know, that's what led me to this book. Fast Food Sonnets. I had worked at McDonald's. It was my first job. And I worked there 7 years. You know, and it's like, wow. And so it's like, okay, how do I reclaim that past? How do I reclaim that time I spent? Because it's not easy. That's what I like with the artists, usually the local artists. I don't know if you could see, there's a figure delivering, you know, on roller skates, probably like a Sonic, you know, drive-in, you know, roller skates. But he hadn't finished the face. And he goes, oh, you know, he's doing electronic work. He goes, I haven't finished the face. And I said, you know what, that's perfect. Because from my working knowledge of being an employee at a fast food restaurant, it's like when you put on the uniform, like people forget you're a person. You know, and I thought that is something I really wanted to do in this book, was to really share there are people behind the scenes. There are people working, and then also the things that we went through as an employee, you know, fun times, having the great times. I learned about so much more about people by working at a fast food restaurant, but also some of the tough times too. So I'll just start with, and I do want to say this book never would have come to surface if it wasn't for the editor, Brian Daldorf. He edits the press, and he just said, I really love these poems. You know, he goes, keep writing them. And so I write a few, and then I write another few. So it took me about 8 years actually to really get a hold of it. Because I just did it a little at a time. I just thought, okay, well, if someone believed in me, you know, someone thought, oh yeah, so that's sometimes all it takes, right? That, you know, someone to encourage you. And that's also why I love these poetry groups, you know, people getting together, because we all need encouragement, right? Like we all have our lives that we need a bit of encouragement, whatever it is. Let me read this first one. So this is about cleaning the flat grill. And it is, this is kind of a bullying. Sometimes, you know, bullying can happen in the workplace. So this is a sad poem. Okay, so it's called Cleaning the Flat. I scraped the carbon off of the flat grill as another member from the kitchen. It's off. Let go. After the manager yells at him, tells him to mop the back room before leaving, the grill scraper is sharp, takes off the brown ashes. The manager jokes with me about something as a way to let the boy know he's not wanted. I push down hard to get the residue off the metal, wishing for smooth silver again. The manager turns his back on that young man he laughs at. I do my best to nod, smile, continue to scrape away any hope for the surface to be clean. The next poem, it'll be a happy one. We've done the sad one. Now this one is one of empowerment. This is when you're in trouble. Sometimes, you know, I like being the trickster a lot. I don't know if how many people are tricksters here? Anybody? Good, tricksters. Yeah, oh yeah, my boyfriend around there. You know, Tricksters get in that space of, you know, power and then not being in power, right? Like they get in this space of like, okay, you know, you might treat me wrong, but I'm gonna make the best out of it. Like, ha ha, I'll show you, you know. And so this is based on my true story. Well, small fry. Okay, here we go. As punishment after being called out as lazy, you were placed on the station for bagging French fries, knowing anyone can pick up the handle, place containers on the end, and with a flip of the wrist, send the scooped fries falling down off the pot. Think of how the sun feels outside compared to the heat lamps reflecting off the back mirror, how the beach feels as salt gets under your nails, the frying oil. People come in and check you out, looking hot in your uniform, as if glowing from the fluorescent rays with the power to make many servings just by request. So one of the things too, facing, this poem is really about food insecurity. You know, some of the things about being a fast food employee too is about like, where are you going to get your food from? Well, you know, McDonald's is going to provide it. You know, that's the sad, I mean, you know, we know it's not healthy. I mean, maybe you can eat some salads, but, you know, I just wanted to like, write a poem because food insecurity is really one of my important, like, things, I guess, to think about. I often have students where we'll do a thing around food insecurity. I've had students at harvesters, like they were volunteering at harvesters and they were learning about food insecurity. Well, some of the students even had the bravery to step forward and said, yes, I've gone through this. You know, and it's still something that I think, oh yeah, I think this is what's amazing about community lunch. Thank you for providing it. Because I think of that, like, oh, this is great. But, you know, it is still this like ongoing thing. So, but this is called doing truck. Slang is slung across side to side in the 5 o'clock in the morning manner after the outside door to the walk-in freezer opens. The cold comes out as a fog onto the truck's back, where we unload in open boxes, pulling out goodies like thieves. Managers like me supervised inventory coming in, so nothing slipped back out. After cases of burgers went missing, the joke was Kenny would have a barbecue. I understood why some would steal, even as I earned a couple dollars over minimum wage. Days off sometimes meant going cold hungry. Yeah, I still remember probably one of the worst moves I ever did was to go to Sam's Club. You know, I thought, okay, I'll buy in bulk and make this last. Well, then I ended up with just this big thing of Tang. That was probably the worst, you know, that was the worst, like, older teenager, you know, like, okay, I have Tang, you know. Okay, so this is the last one from this book. It's called Closing the Store on Summer Nights. The closing hour turns to cleaning, turns to leaving at 2 a.m. as night employees stretch out on the grass beside their parked cars, as the automatic lights shut off like they are told to do, commands given by the manager. Each face turns to the stars, those wishes find a way out of this job. The hands that touched burgers to wrap in wrappers, fixed cold drinks, now smell of grease and French fries, now dig to replace those gross scents with grass and flower petals, fingers pushing deeper into the earth. Thank you for listening to those McDonald's poems. I don't mention McDonald's anywhere in this because I did some research. And there's even this libel that, I don't know if you remember, even Oprah Winfrey had said something about, you know, fast food eating, and then they went, you know, oh, you know, you gotta be careful what to say when corporations are listening to this. So anyway. All right, well, so I'd like to move into then the Kansas poets. On your tables, you have a packet of poems. I love to bring people in that I know that couldn't be here. So here are their poems. Um, so also, yeah, Wyatt Tinley had visited a while ago, and have you had other Kansas poets, if I may ask, do you remember?
Yes,
Or any from this list?
Eric, and I don't know if we got him.
Oh, yeah, Waskar, yeah.
You got him because of all that.
Oh, yeah.
The other person who did the drums.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all correct.
That was great. I didn't bring one of his poems, Drats. Yeah, Kevin, he's my best friend. Actually, it's interesting, yeah. He's the longest friend I've had. It's kind of interesting how we all gotta just get, I don't know what it is, the vibes of the poets and the drumming, yeah. Really great guy. Well, the first one I like to read is Denise Lowe's, Denise Lowe Wisa. She was a Kansas Poet Laureate a while ago too. This is her Kansas Day, January 25th. Long winter nights, turtles burrow in mud beds, while we dry blotted the icy roads. They rest heavy shells and sleep. Above them, beavers domed lodges and patrol the waterways. Fishing boats hear their slaps. And in this season of hard weather, we gather, sheltered by timbers and masonry walls. We repaint ceilings with star animals and hunters. We remember ad astra per aspera, as sun told south. I really love this. It shows the power of a poem of being in a moment, of being in just this part of time, but it also seems timeless. Maybe the ceilings with star animals and hunters, and she's a Wyandotte tribal affiliated, so I wonder also how much that falls into that, the traditions. And you're all familiar with that aspera per aspera, to the stars through difficulties. And that's like any poem, you have that, I guess that's it. Maybe every Kansan should write a poem. Ad astra. That would be a great way to do it, right? Well, let's go to that, per aspera ad astra. Let's go to the third page. That's going to mean going to Waskar's poem, where he's switching around. Through difficulties to the stars. I love that. Oscar Medina was the last Kansas poet, and Tracy Brimhall is the current one. That's what I was also wanted to mention too. Her theme right now is about food banks, giving to food banks. So many of the things that she sells, like she'll do book compilations, and then those go to food banks. That's really amazing work. Okay. Oscar Medina's or Aspera ad Astra. We were lost in the plains, beautiful and ordinary. Sunflowers in the fields, seeds of fallen stars, standing tall, deeply rooted in this land. I've admired how our flowers shine, grasping towards the sky, beyond the prairie grass, anchored, down to earth, mimicking the sun. When the gardener plants the seeds of Ilianthus, they are performing magic, raising stars out of the dust where buzzing planets circle, half-red moons set, and swarming comets float in orange comas. I've always felt that late at night in the bed of a truck in a Kansas field. We were at the center of this universe, and I was exactly where I should be amongst the flowers, not below. Has anyone heard of Helianthus? Sunflowers, okay. Could I do group participation on this one? Is that okay? Is there a way we could use the microphone? Okay, thank you, Violet. Yeah, I like hearing from people, so this is the only way I'll do it. Is anyone coming to the poetry workshop later? Anybody, any hands? Okay, so I have you here, maybe one? All right, very good. So as y'all are here, now I have you, so I'm gonna have to ask you a question. Yeah, I'd like to hear from someone who has some kind of memory. Is there something in one of these lines or images that really talk to you in your experience? Just raise your hand. The whole poem, in what way? What did you like?
The flowers, fields, and the comparison between metaphor between flowers and plants.
Yeah,
But also how it pivots right at the end of that two lines there. You have a pivot before the last line, and then you have a pivot for the last two words.
oh yeah. I like how you said pivot.
Yeah.
I like that. Where I should be amongst the flowers, not below. Yeah, that kind of has a tinge of, mortality, doesn't it?
When we walk out to the front door and you find a flying saucer in the corner of your front yard, and it flies up out of sight, and wonder, did I see that or did I dream?
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Can I go back to the first one, the first poem?
Oh, sure.
So her talking about turtles burrowing in the mud beds. I did not know about Kansas. I've only been here 17 years, but there was a big honking turtle like this at the elementary school. And so every time I hear about turtles burrowing in the mud, I'm absolutely amazed and brought back to that big turtle that was in the middle school yard.
I love it. Right. So for this next audience participation, what I'd like to do is read this poem. And just, if you'd like to even, kind of close your eyes and listen to think of what images do you remember after the poem. So I like this poem. It's by Amy Fleury. It's called Here in Topeka. And it's like a document of a neighborhood walk. So we're going to listen to this poem, and then we'll see if anyone would like to share what they caught after the poem's read. Right. In a neighborhood of old shade, maple seeds helix down, winging onto windshields, mixing with the berry smear of birds and clotting the gutters. From this wide porch of the Middle West, one can hear supper plates clatter in the responsible hum of leaf blowers. It's the dog walking hour when screen doors bang and the neighbor's ex drives by. Face stifling the place, he's just trying to get a look at his kid on the way to his graveyard shift. Amid the iteration of American foursquares and airplane bungalows, the people of this town are coupled up and hunkering down. Here, the weather vane has reveled east, pointing toward the State House, where books first happened to young Langston Hughes, and in Curry's famous mural, sulfurous clouds muscle above John Brown's fierce Bible and rifle stance. Fire flagging at his back, blood and the dead under his boots. When street lamps judder on, it's time to go in to the placid tones of the local newscaster's evening report on the usual city council incivilities. The radar forecasts what the wind chimes already know. Okay, so anything you really enjoyed or liked from that? Oh, okay. Liked it.
Yeah, some of the a couple of the pictures that I thought of while you were reading that was our house, of course, the white porch, and the John Brown mural. It's just that.
Oh, lovely, thank you.
I love the third stanza about the ex driving by
the ex's house. And it's kind of funny, and then all of a sudden it turns really poignant. He just hopes he can get a glimpse of his child.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting too, the screen doors banging in the neighbor's X drives, bass traffic place, like the boom, you hear the booming, it's like, wait, what's going on? And it's like, no, he's just, especially neighbor's X, you kind of go, oh, what, just wants to see his kids, yeah.
I love the dog walking hour. Cause that's where I sit on my porch outside of my house on Third Street and everybody walks by. And we walk our dog, so you know everybody. It's kind of a community event, catching up with them.
Anyone else would like to share?
I like that last line, where it says the wind chimes, the radar forecasts what the wind chimes already know.
Yes. It's great. So that's what I love, yeah, that the use of the words that have this kind of melody to them, like in the neighborhood, old shade, maple seeds, helix down, winging onto windshields, repeating the W's, the shade and maple, some of these vowels, right? And vowels of the consonants. It is also really just a list of the everyday, it's bringing magic to what you would see every evening. It's brought to life. That's what I love about poems, making the ordinary extraordinary. And it's something that we feel like, oh yeah, we want to know this. And so we're going to do it in a poem. We're going to show people. So a poem represents things. A poem isn't about, that's what I always try to say is like, a poem isn't like a puzzle. It shouldn't be a puzzle. It should just be like another one person's way of putting words together to express emotion or an experience. So, yeah. Let's go to on the other side, just shy of the stars, Annette Hope Billing. The same thing, we'll look for, I'll just give you if you want to listen and tell me what Kansas things you hear. This is a list poem about Kansas things. Okay. Just shy of stars. And here it is, that Astra Praspra. To the stars through difficulties, which is, I found out it was about the Kansas being a state, getting the star on the American flag. So it was be a star on the flag, right? To the stars through difficulties. All the bleeding Kansas stuff. A brown girl wanders amber waves. A gold garland of woven wheat crowns her head of defiant curls. Chest tight with longing, she scours fields for any of her Kansas that bears likeness to her. Serenaded by meadowlarks, she kneels to smell rich county soil, brushing the ground with her Cupid's bow mouth, lips lush in a way that makes the earth feel blessed. She creeps up near a bison herd, grins at their hides of richest brown. They scatter with her cries of, hey, you beauties, dark like me. A cottonwood invites her to its shade, where she lingers under summer leaves, stretches out and is lulled to sleep by the lilt of honeybee buzz. She dreams of future difficulties, of places where she'll find herself still just shy of stars. Foreshadowed failures work to startle her awake, to survey the surrounding land. She plots a hearty stew of poems to put meat on her Midwest bones, its broth rendered thick and smooth with a row of woodland brooks and Langston Hughes, of Aaron Douglas and Gordon Parks, a stew seasoned to withstand rejection, a plains meal to leave her hopeful and uppity enough to demand her hometown be more than a good place to dig potatoes. It must be a good place to grow black girls too. So the good, yay! The good place to dig potatoes is Topeka. That's what the Kansas name is. It's a good place to dig potatoes. What are some other Kansas things you noticed in that poem?
We had a big one in our front yard when I was a child, and the cotton, I mean, it was still a cottonwood, and I have great memories of laying underneath, watching it all rain down.
I think that's amazing. You know, yeah, that's the Kansas tree. That's the tree of Kansas, and that you'd had one. Yeah, there aren't any in my neighborhood. I feel really now like we need to plant some.
They cut them down.
They cut them down. Oh, okay. Okay.
14.
All right. Thanks. She's Shawnee County Master Gardener. So if you need some advice, no, here. I love it. Walking through the neighborhood with her, she's like, oh, that tree needs to go down. This tree, you know, it's amazing. Okay, so what other Kansas things? So that the cottonwood, where's the Kansas bird? Oh, yes, thank you. What other Kansas things? Bison? Honeybee. That's right. I forget about that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can't help but hear that song when we hear Amber Waves, you know. Oh, I won't sing up here, but yes, I know the song, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she definitely listed the poets that came from Kansas and the artists. Yeah, Aaron Douglas and Gordon Parks is from Fort Scott. Right? Gordon Parks, Aaron Douglas is from Topeka. He's an artist of the Harlem Renaissance era, so. All right, anything else we would like to say about this?
Just wonderful to think of those Black poet artists as a rich stew that is party for her. Gives her sustenance and a place in Kansas.
Yeah, if you can get Annette to come here, she too is a wonderful poet. She's just amazing. Yeah, she's from Topeka, yeah.
I think all the poets kind of surround themselves with Topeka. Maybe they're part of the university now.
That's maybe, yeah. That's it. Just even the community though, too. There's a open mic. And that's how I guess I should say I got my start. It wasn't really through academia. It was through doing the open mic nights. Like going to open mic poetry nights.
Where's that at?
So this one is then it's now a place called Arts Connect that they do. They're basically promoting the arts in Topeka. It's in Noto, downtown Topeka, that they built into a like art gallery and music scene and thrift stores, and it's just really wonderful. Yeah, so it's a really cool place. So if you ever get a chance in Topeka, Noto is really a great place to go. So yeah. Also, yeah, there are many poets on kind of the front seat too, nationally too, that came from Topeka. So there's some really interesting things about that. Okay, what poem do we, oh yeah, the Eric's got to go here. So yeah, Eric and I work together and he has his book. He has a book now that will be coming out about Stagger Lee, like the whole song that he's done so much research. He spent like 15 years, I think, on this. So, but looking at folk songs, the truth about Stagger Lee and death medleys, what are they called? Murder ballads, thank you. Murder ballads, yeah, that's. Sometimes I think we should co-teach. Anyway. So Eric McHenry, and I swear I saw this at the hospital when I was there. They had one more payphone. Is there a payphone left in Colby? The museum, yeah, I mean, the one that you can actually work, that, you pick up the handle and it goes, and you put your money in. Remember that? This is the last payphone in Topeka. The passing stranger used to jingle. Now he has no use for change. His ringtone is a CeeLo single, and you're the one who's passing strange. When I approach you on your corner or in your stuffy entryway, I'll do it mutely, like a mourner. Respects are all I've come to pay. Payphone, I hope your standing slumber feels like a belly full of dimes and sings you endless local number sequences like nursery rhymes. 266-9637, 232-4829, 354-9027, and 233-5101, which was my grandmother until she moved herself to Brewster Place. The odd tetrameter still summon a voice, but not a face. Payphone, I know the elegy is just another obsolete technology has stranded on another street. But so is everything worthwhile. Grandmothers, moonshots, shards of clay, the square of squares we tried to dial, the only tone that won't go. Anyone like to say something fun about payphones or anything that conjures memories about? Yes.
Back in the 70s and 80s, when our kids were home, we would give them a call line in case they needed to ride home and things didn't work out for them.
Yes, the children's call line. I forget those special lines to give to your teens or whatever, so then they can talk to their friends overnight and then you can still have your phone ready, free dial. I love that. And these are actual Topeka numbers I remember, I don't know if you remember even times of like Central 6 or when those numbers you'd say like Central or, the first two numbers with the letters on the dial. These are all, I love it because in this poem, he's keeping very much a rhythm, but the meter of 10 syllables per line. And that's why you have the, like that's kind of out by itself. He's still trying to keep the 10 syllables going. And even reading off the numbers, he's trying to keep 10 syllables as those numbers are read off, which is incredible to me that phone numbers would have 10 syllables to each of them. As you read them, like, that's really wild to think about. And then, and then inner rhymes, the way he rhymes. Yeah, a lot of poets, we don't really rhyme anymore. There was this movement, the 20th century started and they said, hey, all the words have been rhymed, we don't have to do that. But still, that's why I love what Eric does, is he pulls the kind of classical tradition in a new way, so.
I like the way that talks about the payphone being the belly full of dimes. And I always remember if you had to use the payphone, you hoped you had the right amount of change that you needed to put in if you needed to pay for something. Because sometimes it's like 57 cents, please,
Mm-hmm.
And oops, I only have 45. Now what?
Yeah, because I remember it would give some change though, or something. Maybe it did.
But it's whether you had enough.
If you had enough change, yeah.
Call collect. Is what you do. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Just so that it's not even enough that you're telling your parents. If we don't say because it would cut you off really fast, everything makes sense like
Mm-hmm.
so, it's one of those I remember too, we didn't carry enough change in our next to be. Oh.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds you of the toll booths now that we don't have.
That's really strange. Yeah, that'll be what they use to get a ticket, a little thing to hold. Okay. Well, I think that, I'll end on just a couple more of my poems. I kind of went faster than I thought I would. And then also, if anyone had questions, I'd love to talk about poetry or even get you writing. If you, I know some of you aren't coming to the workshop. I hope you do, because I have some fun things. I do a lot of collaborative work, community stuff, but I also am taking you, you get to take home prompts to get your own writing started. So I feel like prompts are a really fun way to get motivated into, like, but sometimes we're like, I know I want to write a poem, I just don't know what about. I don't know how. And it's like, okay, think of a prompt, and then you can even use these poems for your inspiration. Think of the list, the power of the list, the power of naming, go on a walk, go on a neighborhood walk, and take your own notes. That's always fun. Or drive around town and take notes, but not at the same time. Right, Carrie stopped me from writing and driving at the same time, right? Okay. So I want to just read a couple more fun poems. And this one is, let's see. Yeah, these are kind of my dedication poems. This one is to T-Bone. I worked with somebody, he liked to go by T-Bone. First black man I ever knew, who knew Led Zeppelin, Motley Crue. Have a new old lady, he said. I met her after work when we all went for drinks at the Club Paradise. A cashier I liked was there too, but for a manager, it's taboo. I'm telling you, jazz on the radio is nothing like blues in Kansas City, T-Bone said that night. His lady agreed. We planned to go on a trip to KC together, get away, maybe check out the Royals. We made plans to the tunes of Love Stinks and Sweet Dreams. We danced around the parking lot. We danced around the parking lot as though we believed it. Yeah, I kind of looking at these poems again, I realized, oh yeah, a lot of dreams are in these. It's a really good thing. Okay, we would take our children to McDonald's, not to eat, but to make use of the playground. Don't tell anybody, because it's winter outside. Well, there's no play, where are you gonna get play equipment? All right, here we go, Playland. Okay, here's my shameless poem. Playland. I never thought I'd be happy to see a McDonald's in my life, Carrie says, building excitement about the rebuilt store close to home, complete with a playland. We know how they manipulate children and parents with their Happy Meal, now with healthier choices. What child really wants McApples though? But now we have children find the playlands to be winter havens, except for Topeka Boulevards, where a fight between parents broke out during the kids' party. But this one is in North Topeka, only North Topekans go. We'll evade the extremes, heat or cold, dodging cashier's eyes as we do not buy. Okay. And so this is heavy. Through the tug of the door, the same old tug, when you first went through the door, the same sense scientifically placed inside food. Yeah, that's true. They put sense in food, okay, you got it for me. As aromas flood you when you step inside the door, you can always go back, but get stuck. The weight of belonging, the weight of being part of the process of open doors, Recycled smells, employees, the warm vent air pushed into all of our faces. Feeling needed even when treated like trash. The trash can liners are in the back if you ever need to empty the full bins and start filling up again. All right. Well, thank you everyone for having me. Want to ask what questions for the poets out there, or the people who'd like to start poetry, or no? Yes.
When did you start doing the poetry?
When I was 22, I was journaling. Actually, I was started journaling because a professor told me, like he called me in his office. And I thought, uh-oh, what did I do? And he called me in his office and then he said, well, I can tell you know some of the things about philosophy, but you're not a good writer. And so me being the trickster, right? The trickster goes, okay, well, how do I become a good writer? And he said, keep a journal and carry a thesaurus. And the thesaurus I'd never seen before. Like it was like word for words, like in a dictionary it tells you what a word means, but in the thesaurus, like it connects words. You get the textures, you get the tastes, you get, you can learn more about a word for me. Well, sure, etymology too, but looking at the source is wonderful. So I started journaling, but then that shifted to the poems because I realized I was very closed. I was a closed person. And I knew like I wanted to connect with others. And I felt like, just like that 12-year-old boy I interviewed, I thought, yeah, I want to share feelings. I want to share things and connect with people. So I'm doing these poems. Like I just knew like, hey, a poem will connect with someone. And then I took those poems, and that's why I said about the open mic nights. Because open mic poetry nights are just, they're really realms of non-judgment. There's no judgment. There's no criticism. They're just to support. And that's what's love. You get together with people and you're like, oh yeah, I love that poem. And you just say like, I love that line, or I love what you did there. And then you get to know people because they keep coming back. So I'd say poetry for me has been about 20. I know you asked me when I started, but it is like any time. I feel like any time at any moment, all of the workshops I do, everyone wants to write a poem, but then they're worried like it isn't a poem. Like they'll go, is this a poem? And then they'll read what they wrote. It's like, yeah, we all go, that's a poem, right? Because yeah, we all instinctively, not only like our culture, but every culture in the world has an idea of a poem. Like they know poems. Like poetry is a part of every culture. So I even find it a very deep psychological, like DNA passing on that. Oh no, I'm really going to. I'm sorry, but let me just say this: like why we love storytelling is the same way that our brains are wired to really love storytelling and meaning making. And for me, that's why I feel like when I go to a speak, like do a talk or something, or go to someone's talking, like hearing their stories, like, yeah, like let's hear some stories. I get more engaged in that. So, and versus like, I mean, I know I come from academia, but some of the best stuff is like storytelling in the classroom. I love doing that. So anyway, I hope that helps.
Are you a professor of author now?
Yes, yeah, I teach beginning poetry writing, beginning nonfiction writing, and film and mythology, and then the composition class. Yeah, that's it. Like I'm here, I'm on sabbatical, which is really, I come from a blue collar family, so it's really bizarre for me to think, like, what? It's a really strange, journey. But that's it, like right now I'm writing about film and poetry and how they heal people. How they help to heal people. So, yeah. So anything I'm doing, I'm always thinking, how can this help someone? So, yeah. Any other questions?
I don't wanna stop you. But before we let him go, I'm just gonna give him our cup and a few clips, because you have a few kids.
Oh, thank you.
Well, since you're on sabbatical too, and you're traveling, we're gonna give you one of our Pioneer Memorial Library cutting boards.
Oh,
And you
that's
can wash
awesome.
them, you can do anything.
Yes,
Peanut butter with it, slice it up, apples and all kinds of stuff, so.
thank you so much. This is so sweet. Thank you
Thank you very much.
for your generosity. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah, please come back at 1:30. I know if you can't. You've got, but I would love to continue. And I have my book up here too, if you're interested in looking at it, so, all right. Oh, the meeting room, okay.